So this is how you build an MCP server in C# and .NET. By the end of this video, you're going to have a working server that AI assistants can call through tools like Continue and Copilot in VS Code. Here's what we're going to cover in the next few minutes. You're going to need three things: the official .NET MCP SDK, Docker, and VS Code with the Continue extension installed. Now you can obviously configure any other client, including Copilot or Claude Desktop, to use the MCP server if you're not using Continue. But for this tutorial, I'm going to be using Continue with VS Code and Docker. So make sure to have those set up on your machine if you want to follow along. Okay, our project has two parts: a server that implements the MCP protocol, and I'm also going to show you how to build a super simple client also using the .NET MCP SDK that's going to connect to the MCP server. Okay, so as you can see, we have two folders here. The first one is going to be used for our MCP server. So this is the server folder, and this is just a console C# app where we can define the tools for our MCP server. And we also have this Docker file here. So we need two main packages for this to work. The first one is the official SDK from Microsoft, which is Model Context Protocol. And the second one is this hosting package from Microsoft Extensions. And this is going to allow us to host this server. Next, we have the client app, which is a web application. We're also using the same package. So we have the Model Context Protocol package, but this time we have controllers here. So we have this MCP controller C# file with a few endpoints that we're going to talk about a little bit further in the video. So make sure you're following along, and don't worry about the folder structure or the code right now, because I'm going to leave a link in the description with everything to download from my blog. All right, if you're just getting started with MCP, or if you're confusing MCP with things like RAG or API or other ways that AI models grab information from other sources, make sure to check out this post on my blog. It's really short, just 5 minutes, and you can get a clear understanding of how MCP works and how it compares to RAG or API. I'm going to leave a link in the description, so make sure to check it out if you're just getting started. All right, so let's go back to VS Code, and I'm going to go to this server project here, and I'm going to show you what program.cs looks like. So this is a simple console app. And first we bring in our Model Context Protocol SDK here, as you can see. Then we add the hosting package and other dependencies. First, we register the MCP server component in our app. Then we specify that we're using the standard in, standard out transport layer. The MCP protocol defines two transport mechanisms: standard in, standard out, and streamable HTTP. You can also find a link to the official MCP site for more info in the description. Finally, we're doing a with tools from assembly. And this basically dynamically pulls the tools from the codebase, the assembly, rather than being hard-coded or manually configured. Let's take a look at the tools that we have here. Now, these are just pasted from the official documentation, but you can obviously implement anything here, like an API call, custom logic, or anything else you'd like. This is really where the magic happens. The MCP server tool type attributes tells the framework that this class contains tools. Now, each method below, like echo, contains this MCP server tool attribute, so that becomes a callable tool. The description attribute here is crucial. It is used by the model so that it knows what each tool does. When a model called echo, for example, with a message, it gets routed to this method automatically. Okay, so that's everything for the server. Pretty basic, but gets the job done. Now I'll show you the client part. And this is a simple .NET web app. So as you can see here, we have some basic web setup, but the main focus is really this part. And this is where we're setting up the MCP client service. It's basically saying to talk to the server, I need to use a Docker execute command since the server is running in a container. And we're also using standard in, standard out transport as defined in the server. Okay, so basically here we have two endpoints. The first one is tools and the second one is execute. And this controller depends on our MCP client, as you can see here. So essentially, this MCP client lets us execute some functions within the SDK that's going to allow us to communicate with the server. And for the tools endpoint, we're listing the tools. So we can do MCP client, list tools async method, and that's going to return our tools. In our case, we have two tools. If you remember, the first one is echo and the second one is reverse echo. Next, we have the execute endpoint, and this one is obviously going to invoke a tool. And to do that, we also do MCP client, call tool async method, and we can pass in the tool name, the arguments, and a cancellation token. And once we do that, our tool is going to execute. So everything is put together nicely, the server and the client, thanks to this Docker Compose file. So let's go to the terminal and spin up these containers. First, I'm going to run docker ps just to list my running containers. Okay, good. Now I'm going to do docker compose up, and this is going to bring up our server and client, as you can see here. Awesome. We have both apps running, the server and the client. So let's do a little test. First, I'm going to do a get request to health just to check if everything's okay. So curl localhost 8080/health. Okay, perfect. This means the API is running with no issues. Next, I'm going to call our tools. So first I'm going to do curl http localhost 8080 API MCP and then tools. And if you remember, this is just going to list our tools. As you can see, we have reverse echo and echo. And obviously those are returned from the MCP server, so the API is successfully talking to the server. Now I'm going to execute the echo tool. So I'm going to do curl and I'm going to post to MCP/execute, and then we're going to pass the tool name, which is echo, and I'm going to pass in the message hello tool. And this is just going to return hello tool from the MCP server. Let's run it and see the result. Perfect. So as you can see, we have text hello from C#, which is coming from the server. Hello world. Our message was sent back to us successfully. Now for the fun part, connecting Continue to our MCP server. You could be using Copilot or some other extension in your VS Code setup, but the config is probably similar. For Continue specifically, you'll need to create a config file under Continue MCP servers. Then you can specify a name. In our case, this is C# MCP server. Earlier, I tried doing C# like this, but this was causing an issue, so make sure not to use special characters. Then we say docker is the command, and we specify which container runs our server. In this case, it's MCP C# server. That's everything we need. Continue will discover the tools automatically, so let's take it for a quick spin and see what we have so far. All right, so in Continue, if we press on this MCP servers tab here, we can see our server, so C# MCP server. And if we hover over this icon, we can see our tools, reverse echo and echo. Now, there's also this button here, which shows us the tools that are active in agent mode. So agent mode, we can activate it from here. So we need to make sure we're on agent mode because it's not going to run for chat. MCP is not available for chat. And going back to this tools, we can see the built-in functions or tools provided by Continue. If I scroll down a little bit, we can see our server. And if we want to disable it, for example, we can just choose to turn this off, or we can change the settings for each tool individually. For example, this ask here means that if the AI model wants to use the reverse echo tool, it needs to ask for my permission first. We can either change it to automatically or off. Let's keep it as ask and give it a shot. So I'm going to say reverse this word, programming. So it says Continue wants to use the C# MCP server tool, continue, I accept this, and the reversed word is programming. And that's it. You now have a working MCP server in C# using the official SDK from Microsoft. I'm sure you're going to have fun setting up your own server and tools. Maybe do some file operations, database queries, or API calls. You'll find the code on my blog by following the link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments what tools you build with this setup.